Hello and hi you to all you sports lovers out there. My name is Robbie Gillette and welcome to episode 4 of the Keeping It Real with Rugby podcast, where we chat all things from the mental side of sports to stories, laughs and banter. Whether you're into the old pigskin or the old leather ball, we've got you. Today we're chatting to DHL Western Province captain, DHL Stormers lock forward as well as founder and director of Wellworth Consulting, Chris Van Sale. The parameters of this episode go well beyond the sports field as we touch on mental health, professionalism and leadership. I hope you guys enjoy.
Coming together of some remarkable people. I mean, Chris Van Sale is probably the best captain I've ever worked with. You know, just as what he puts in on and off the field.
The victorious Western Province captain making his way over. The celebrations have certainly started for his team, but they're about to go up a notch.
Hey Chris, how's it going?
Hi, Robbie, like and you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm flipping excited. Just to have a chat.
I had a brief look at your content, bro. Very good stuff there, bro. I look forward to just having a chat. Huh?
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome to get to hear. I actually spoke to my grandpa. Called me for my birthday. It's actually 90 this year.
When was your birthday?
Wednesday. And
That's been.
Yeah. And then
Happy birthday, bro.
Sure. So when we were chatting, and then we got on to, so he was like, so he's a avid sports watcher and lover, even at 9-10, he's quite sharp still, you know. So we got onto the podcast after he wished me, and then he asked who I had next. So I said, no, I got Chris Van Sale next. And I think the bulk of the rest of that conversation was, no, how much he admires Chris. And
oh, really? Fuck me. I don't know.
So I think we're going to at least have one tentative listener this week. So I'm very keen.
No, like it, bro. And I must commend you for going with this. You'd had a listener out in the UK. An old Bosch boy told me he was listening to your one with Tom Dawson Squibb. So
no ways, that's awesome.
Yeah, bro, I commend you for going with this way, bro.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome to hear, because it's like, yeah, that's incredible. Thank you. So yeah, if we could just chat about your early rugby career, and so you were at Rondebosch like I was. So can you just chat through your fondest memories at Bosch and what kind of sides you played in at the school?
Yeah, Robbie. So I mean, let's start with the school days being really great. I've only got fondest memories of Rondebosch. I think most importantly, probably the friendships that I made. You know, like we're fortunate. I think we're still a group of about 15 odd guys that are still really tight and
that's awesome.
Actively in each other's lives, not just on WhatsApp, but like still keep in contact. So I think that was probably the biggest gain that I got from Bosch. Obviously, the education was great and the opportunities I got. But the rugby story is quite short. I mean, I played A side up until I think under 13, under 14, and then the wheels fell off a little bit. I was a lanky fly half at that stage.
That's incredible.
I played fly half up until about grade 10, and then told Mike van Reede at that stage that I wanted to move to lock. And look, he was a bit surprised at my decision, but he understood that he knew that I was going to end up there. So ended up moving to lock, and then I played mainly third side. I played third side and finished as the 13 captain in matric.
That's also I was 13 vice captain, so you know maybe I still got a future in right. I'm joking. I'd rather stick to inter.
Wait for the growth spurt.
Yeah, I waited. Like my oldest brother's like 6'8" or something, and my other brother's like 6'3", and I'm like 178 centimeters. So it's like I'm waiting.
I genuinely grew. I promise you, like my major growth spurt was probably when I was 20, 21. So
really,
it definitely came later, and
So you say you were somewhat of a late bloomer.
Sure.
So then you went to Stellies, and then did you play a bit of rugby there, and then also So can you just try to chat through the journey of becoming a pro? Because you say you played third side, and then you studied, I think it was BAC, right? at Stellenbosch. Yeah. So can you just kind of chat us through the rugby aspect of Stellenbosch and then going over into pro rugby?
Sure, Robbie. So I went to Stellenbosch with the idea to focus on my student life and my studies.
No,
so
as one does in Stellies, huh?
As one does. So I wasn't shy to know that why I was going there. It was obviously to get to the degree, but it was also to have a good time.
Yeah.
I made no secret about that.
So you made the most of it.
Yeah, I did. Cost me a year.
Senior
recruit. So I got to Stellies, and the whole rugby thing basically started from Corsairs. But what started to happen is I saw myself developing, and then as I started to play more and more Corsairs rugby, the doors started to open to play a bit of junior Marties.
Sure.
And then later, a bit of Vicks. And then, at the end, ended up playing Varsity Cup. But at no stage during that time was I ever the star to watch or an up-and-coming guy that's got a future. I was just a rugby player, pretty good, could make the A team, wasn't always picked. But I played quite a lot of rugby, and I played a lot of hard rugby there, Robbie. When you're playing junior Cravens those days, you're a 20-year-old playing in senior leagues against some real tough opposition. So it was a big learning curve.
Yeah.
And what was quite pivotal though there was that when I got the opportunity to play Varsity Cup, which was basically in my final year when I was doing my BAc honours, I got a small taste of what the professional environment could be like. So although it was still semi-pro, you studied but there was gymming together, there was guidelines, there was a lot of structure. And for some reason that really struck a chord with me. I really enjoyed it. It's something like, to this day, I see as key in my development. And then during that Varsity Cup, I played a bit. I actually got injured against NMMU, I think, and then made my way back against UCT, and then hurt the same shoulder. And then we ended up getting knocked out in the semis. So it was by no means like a breakthrough for me. I think I played 6 or 7 games in total. I think I did all right, but really enjoyed the experience, and most importantly, got a taste of what professional rugby could be like. And then Robbie, then I went on there. I went to Joburg to start my articles in chartered accountancy.
Okay. Where? Which company?
So at Deloitte. So Deloitte in Johannesburg. And after I experienced the Varsity Cup, I remember going home to my folks, visiting them on a weekend from Stellies, and saying to them, I'm going to become a professional rugby player. And
that's awesome.
And I remember they were a bit concerned, because how was I going to become a professional rugby player if I was due to start my articles in Deloitte in the new year? But I kind of worked out a plan what I thought would work, and it turned out it did work like that. I mean, I got involved in Pirates, and then amateur rugby that's within that same year, and we had a very good amateur team, so we were successful. And then got the call from Russell Winter and Johan Ackerman, and from there got into Lions.
That's awesome. And then, so what prompted the move down to province again?
So what had happened is at the Lions, I think I'd done about 2 years there, of which I think maybe just 1 year was full time. So I'd still continued to do my articles and play rugby.
Time management.
And then what happened is I started to see the guys that had started Deloitte with me were starting to finish off. So that started to worry me and got me a bit anxious. So I said to Deloitte, I really want to pick up my articles again. By that stage, I'd fallen out of favor at the Lions, and Dobbo had indicated to me there was an opportunity at Province. So it was, and on top of that, the only place that there was space for me to restart my articles was in Cape Town with Deloitte. So it was like...
Not a cuck place.
Not a cuck place. Move back down, move back in with the folks. Failure to launch. So I'm back in with the folks. living the dream on a single bed, and yeah, and then really that was 2015, and then just got stuck in like Vodacom Cup, Currie Cup, Super Rugby, and
yeah, I guess that rugby must be pretty unforgiving. So it's like it's not 20,000 odd at Newlands every Saturday.
So
it must be pretty unforgiving. Your body must take a hell of a beating with that.
Yeah. I mean, you're running out at City Park, and it's quite similar to a club rugby setup where not many people watching, and so I mean that was that Vodacom Cup year was stood out for me, was great for development, and it was still a special year.
Awesome.
On his shoulder was Van Dijk, and Duvenaka now around the back for Rule. Rule gets the off-fight away. That'll be a try, will it? We'll have a look. Glenn Jackson awards it. Beautifully worked by Raymond Rule, and Chris Van Sale scores for the Stormers.
So I always like just to play a couple games with the guys, just to have a bit of fun with everything. So we have our serious and then we have our games. So I played this last week, and I thought it was cool, but it was also fairly insightful, and I got some cool feedback from it. Cool. So it's a game of who is and why, and then so Stormers edition, so obviously chatting about Stormers or guys you've played with. Cool. So then who is, and then a small explanation of why.
Okay, perfect.
So who is the Kitman's nightmare?
So the Kitman at the Stormers is a guy called Jeff, and I think
yes, I actually remember when I ball boy, he gave us all the Vodacom kit.
So this is the thing, Jeff has been there, and I'm happy if someone can correct me, but from what I understand, he's one of the longing serving employees of Western Province Rugby. And he's been there for years. So when I was ball boy, he was there, and, and when you say I'm probably his worst nightmare because I know that he gets harassed by Oaks all the time.
Yeah.
Oaks want kit and they want this and not that. When I see him, I make a point of always pulling his leg and saying, Tani Ria sent me down from head office and she says, I must get these boots. And then he gets into a flat spin and he wants to know. Then he wants to phone Tani Rini, and then I said, no, just relax. I'm joking. So I must definitely be his biggest pest. I mean, such a good man, but I just love to pull his leg and get a laugh out of it.
I love that. I guess that's what sports teams and everything's about. Just got to have fun with each other, I guess.
Bit of banter, yeah. No, definitely.
And then who's the hardest guy you've ever played against?
So I made my Currie Cup debut against the Sharks up in Durban for the Lions, and Jean Daisel played in that game.
Sure.
And he stood out for me. I mean, the way he carried the ball was pretty intense. He ran hard.
Jeez.
And then on top of that, I would say a guy that's extremely, when I think of hard, it's unsuspecting, but Ari Sevilla.
Really?
He is just so difficult to bring down. And I mean, when you play against the Canes, you just know you've got to mark him. And why I say he's hard is just because you think you've tackled him, but I promise you, if you're not going to hold onto him, he's going to get up and run again.
Yeah. Jeez. He's incredible. And then who is the comedian?
So I mean, I've got to think of Currie. I mean, he's just a bundle of joy. I actually can't be serious around him. It's so difficult to take him serious when he talks to me about conditioning and stuff. If he tells me he's considering a new fish-only diet, or I mean, he's come up with some great plans, or he's not going to have a beer during the week, but he's just such a bundle of joy, and he's got that infectious laugh.
Yeah.
And we're such good friends that I genuinely, I just laugh when I think about that. Like, he's such a laugh.
I've had the privilege of being around Scaro, but like I don't think he definitely didn't know I was there. But I mean, even just him.
Just tell us, where was that? In Boogies.
Yes. Actually, I'll send you the photo. I have a photo of a selfie of Scaro and I just in Boogies, like on the stairs. I think I probably pestered him for it. But I mean, just in the environment, you can see he was just like, an absolute bundle of joy, which is cool.
No, he is, and he's the way he interacts with people makes him so unique and special. Like people feel very special, and it's very authentic. It's who he is, and it stems
That's
from
proper.
the other person he is. Yeah,
That's proper.
but I knew he was at Boogie.
And
Surprised I wasn't there, to be honest. Anyway,
who is the motivator?
yeah, Sia,
Really?
when Sia talks or decides on a direction or decides on something, it's difficult not to get motivated by him. He's
Okay.
he's definitely inspirational in that capacity, and that comes to mind first and foremost.
Okay, cool. And then who is most likely to coach rugby after retiring?
Sure, there's a lot of them. JL Duplessis, John Luke.
Okay.
He's just got such I can see he's just got this brain that thinks about the game as a whole, not only as a fly-off.
Okay.
Also, funny enough, Damien Willemse, like, they both fly-offs, but Damien's, I mean, he's inquired, he's asked me often, like, seriously about line-outs, and he says he's fascinated by line-outs. And I think if
That's cool.
a guy in fly-off who normally just worries about his hairstyle is
catch,
really
laugh, kick, laugh.
yeah, but he's genuinely intrigued, and I think the both of them will definitely do something in coaching. Yeah.
Who is always late?
I want to chuck the Oaks under the bus here.
Without throwing anyone under the bus.
No, I mean, I will. A lot of Oaks have traffic issues.
Really?
Gaza sometimes has a lot of traffic issues, but he comes from Strand. He has to drive from Strand often, so it is forgivable, but he often has traffic issues. So I would say
anyone in Newlands ever have traffic issues, or is it?
When we gym at Virgin sometimes. So the problem is we gym sometimes at the Virgin in Claremont, and the peak traffic is quite serious.
Yeah.
And a culprit there is Currie. He often says, he doesn't understand it. He left 30 minutes ago. But meanwhile, it takes 45 minutes to get from Pineland. So same culprits, bro.
Usual suspects, And then who is selfie obsessed?
Edward van der Merwe likes to do this like selfie in New Zealand accent impersonation. He likes to do that quite often. So
I've also seen his TikToks.
Yeah, he loves it. So he's look. I mean, with a rig like that, he's.
Yeah, I get it out as well.
Yeah, he's doing all right. I suppose selfie is not the worst thing to show.
No, not at all.
No.
So then, if we can move on to our one of the focuses, which is the Currie Cup campaign in 2017, where you guys won a new captain.
Sure.
Before we get into the whole campaign, what is it like lifting the Currie Cup? Because it is the oldest rugby competition in the world. So what was that feeling like, if you can describe it?
Yeah, it's difficult. There's so much involved, but maybe I can just paint you a picture of of try and just give you an understanding of maybe what happened post to that. At first, obviously, there's elation and stuff. There's definitely, as a captain, with all the pressure, there's a lot of relief.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely a bit of pride for knowing that you've made certain people proud in your family.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Friends and family, and also like pride in the team that has done it and the squad. So specifically that year, we can touch on it in the campaign, but like really proud in the guys that contributed on and off the field, and bro, it was actually emotionally deep. For many reasons. In fact, I don't mind sharing this with you. I actually have changed my view on this because I've just decided I want to start talking about this kind of thing. But at the end of 2016, I lost my best mate to suicide.
Sure.
And Bosch boy.
Sorry.
And straight from that, I went into a Super Rugby, which was great. It was full on, like non-stop going, and then into a back-to-back Currie Cup season, which was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think during that whole time, I was keeping a brave face. I also in 2017 launched my company. So like really just keeping things together and like And I just remember post to winning the Currie Cup, didn't sleep that night. Jonesy and I had an all-night bender as we do, and flew back the next morning. And we then had a jaw plan by DHL out at Shimmy's Beach Club, which was fantastic, obviously.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I just remember like driving home in an Uber back from Shimmy's and just like bawling, like literally like crying. And I think it was just like a build-up of a year that had flashed by that was so intense.
Yeah.
And this being like a moment of just like utter relief. I didn't have to keep a brave face up anymore. I could just let the moment take over me. And just, I mean, those emotions that I felt that day after Shimmy, like I've never felt again, but I think it was like a year built up of just like embedded emotions.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Chris, because that's essentially what I want to have with this podcast, just to keep it real, you know, and it's, mental health does need to be spoken about a lot more, and I think that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, especially the Oaks watching and see you share and you speak about it and you be vulnerable. I think that's incredible. Thank you very much.
Like I've never spoken about it, but I just you know, like with you being a Bosch boy, and I went to Bosch, and he was very much part of my Bosch journey. And during this time in lockdown, I've been thinking a lot about like just, you know, where as friends we may have failed him, you know, like, because obviously there's mental health, and, you know, like Oaks are, especially Bosch boys, all boys schools, like very, banter's great and stuff, but we're not good at talking about
not at all.
Feelings and stuff like that. And I think if a story or two can help Oaks to do that more often, then it's worth it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
So for you guys in that season, you know, it wasn't a perfect season. You guys, I think you guys towards the final, you guys came together, you know, and you won it. So what do you think changed in performance from, like, say, the beginning of the season to the final?
So I was on a podcast with Tom Dawson-Squibb and Carl Brown. Have also got a podcast going. They're gonna launch it soon, and they had asked me the question about the campaign as well, and something came to mind, is that we were struggling, and one of the main issues that we were having was decision making on the field. So like by key playmakers making incorrect tactical decisions that were hurting us. And it's weird, Robbie, like we eventually discovered that, and we discovered it late, so we left it late, but we discovered it and we sorted it out, and we went and played the Sharks away from home, and we need to win that game to guarantee a semi-final. And if we had won it with a bonus point, I think we got the home semi-final. But if we had lost, we could have not made semis. So massive pressure. Yeah. Last round robin game. And we go and we beat them convincingly. The Sharks, who were unbeaten at that stage.
Okay. Sure.
So there we go. Now we know we as good as we thought we were. We've sorted out some stuff. And what was great is, you know, I think we had sorted out what needed to be sorted out, and timing was just right and fortunate, because those were the things that then came out in the semi-final and the final that worked so well. Our decision making was great. We beat the Lions at home convincingly. I don't think they scored a try. And then we went back to the Sharks, packed Kings Park, and we knew we could do it. So it was
awesome.
It was.
And then, so which specific game would you say that specific game stood out for you in that campaign?
Yeah, it would be that Sharks game away. Yeah. It would definitely be the pressure associated. I mean, that was pressure. I mean, like, it was genuinely. Remember, at that stage, Western Province Rugby was also in financial issues. We were a lot in the paper, so there was a lot of external stuff going on, which we as players try to shield, but like you can't really. You do read it in the papers. You do get exposed. You get asked by your friends, family, obviously the press as well in the captain's conferences and stuff. So there was plenty pressure, but I think what obviously helped is I truly believed that with Dobbo's plan and the players we had, we were capable of winning. And like, just quickly in comparison, so 2018 we go unbeaten all the way up until the final.
Yes, I remember that.
And then the wheels fall off, and that what's so relevant there is the issues that were in that campaign started showing in the semi-final, but by then it was almost too late. So the timing was out, and that just shows you that timing is so important.
Yeah, awesome. And then so when in doing research and just finding out, I was watching a couple of videos of you. John Dobson said that you were one of the best captains he's ever worked with. What does that mean to you? And then also, what was it like captaining your childhood side? I mean, you went to Bosch. I assume you were a Province fan. So yeah.
Yeah. Look, I've never heard that. I think that is a massive compliment coming from Dobber, and I'll take it. I genuinely believe he's probably had better captains, but I think what was key was, and still to today, like I believe in the way Dobber runs his teams and the way he feels about rugby. So I think that made it easy that we have always been, from the moment I arrived in 2015 when I captained his Vodacom Cup side. We understood the balance that he wanted to instill, and that's of building a team on authentic relationships that are made off the field as well as on the field.
So there's a big buy-in,
Big buy-in, and I think we definitely aligned and still are today on the way we think teams should be run. I mean, when I arrived at the Province, when I got involved there, I was so excited to see that maybe the fun that I'd lost at the Lions, what I didn't see that it was here and it was in a professional environment. It was almost hard to believe.
That's awesome.
It was basically a combination of what I'd experienced at Pirates and at the Lions. It was like a win-win. And that was special. And then the second part was, sorry, what was the second part of that question?
Just what was it like captaining your childhood side?
Bruce, I mean, still today when I run out first of the tunnel and at Newlands, and like I basically do get goosebumps every time I do it. From being, my relationship with Newlands goes on since I could walk. We live very close to the stadium. We've always been fortunate to have access to go to we used to go to the scholars tickets.
Young Pickard or there.
That's it. We used to cut the tomato sauce open that the people could walk over it and mess on the girls in front there. And then, moved on to ball boying, watching folks like on the field, like heroes, getting in contact with them, being in the Newlands, and then I suppose getting my first crack at professional rugby at the place that I didn't actually worry. I didn't actually mind where it was. I just wanted to be a professional rugby player and didn't really think about it. And then coming back to the place where it was almost, I always wanted to be. And like when I run out, and my parents have always had season tickets on the halfway line of the grandstand.
That's cool.
So I've watched my brother play there a little bit. They've always been at every game. And like when I run out, whether I'm captain or not, I always turn around, and the first thing I do is when I'm on the field, just have a quick look up to them. And
that's so cool.
I can't look too long because I get emotional, because it's obviously a lot of stuff that's gone on and is attached to what has happened in life. So to see them being able to watch me there is genuinely a dream come true.
That is special. And Newlands does seem to have a whole different, almost like that special. I don't know if even watching there, and then when I was ball boying, I think I got a step closer to kind of feeling that you almost can't really describe the feeling to be on the field at Newlands, let alone playing it. And I think that's Newlands is a special place.
It's electric, and the crowd genuinely feel like they are next to you on the field. And
it's awesome.
I think the fact that the faithful are such a good support base, and they've always been, and their numbers have always been great. That obviously also makes it really special.
And then so as a captain, you obviously do you do all the extras. So doing the post-match interview, and so how do you take out the emotion of a response having just lost a game? Because obviously, say the ref makes a dodgy decision, you can't be like, no, that was a cut call, because it's like you have to take the emotion out of it. But do you find it tough, and how do you do it? Or is it just you blank and then you train?
I mean, it's almost. I'm not a good loser at all, and especially as captain, I take it very personally. It's almost impossible, and I think Dobbo is also the same. Dobbo does. It's almost impossible not to get emotional about it, and try and separate the two, especially when it's so raw.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like straight after.
Yeah, but I think you do. The main thing is just to try and, talk about what potentially had gone wrong and how we're going to fix it. So always remain positive and talk about the future. But it's genuinely difficult to take emotion out of it when it's so raw.
Especially because it's right after the final whistle. You don't have time to be like, okay, like gather yourself. You're straight off a game where you've hit, like you've been tackling guys and your adrenaline's going, and then you must give like a media trained answer. It must be pretty tough.
Yeah, it is. And it's difficult to always give the best answers, but I suppose people understand first and foremost, and then you just got to try and separate the emotions and always try and give the people something positive. So to look forward, or we're going to rectify it, or it's not up to our standard.
Would you have been media trained, like as an interview, or is it just like someone sits you down, like when you interview, you do this, do's and don'ts, or is it you actually go through like a training process?
So not much, but there's a bit of guidelines. So Western Brom's got a person who's control, and he will. I'm sure he also knows certain guys can handle it and can't handle it, but we'll also do a brief. So there's always an email of what we need to be talking about this week, what we must try and avoid talking about. So that's the work that they do behind the scenes. So for prep for let's say on a Tuesday or Thursday media session, I would have read the email on the Monday and then know that Mike wants me to talk about these points and get them across. And then that's what you just try and remember.
So then if we could focus on just time management, professionalism and leadership, just because you obviously you're very, very skilled at all of those. So you've captained a professional rugby side, you are captaining, you run a business. What similarities have you noticed in doing those that have helped you in either one? So like what have you learned from, say, running a business that helps you as being a captain and vice versa?
So I mean, the business, I don't run the business alone at all. I started with a good friend of mine from university. So I think the first thing there is that we're a team. So trying to, as a leader, I suppose I do take lead most of the time in the business, but we're also a team. So I try and incorporate what I've definitely learned on the rugby field about teamwork, and that's cohesion and building relationships before the match day are so important. So I would say relationship building within the team at all times, with the way I think I treat people, to ensure that they know that we are a team and that they feel a part of the team. I think that's genuinely so important, that both rugby and in the workplace, community feel, and they feel, and most importantly, that they feel part of something special, like something bigger than what they're doing. So if it's playing for the Vodacom Cup, they feel part of winning a very special tournament. If they're working for Walworth Consulting, they are not just doing an 8 to 5. They are part of building a great brand that they can be.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. And then, so when I did my first episode with Tom, and he mentioned that you were one of the most professional athletes he's ever worked with. Have you always been that professional, or has it been something you've had to learn and develop over the years?
Robbie, so like, remember I told you that I moved up to Johannesburg, and I was already started my articles, and when I started my articles, I was working 8 to 5 in Sandton. I was playing club rugby at Pirates, and what I realized that I told my folks I wanted to be a professional rugby player. So it's one thing saying it, but how am I going to do it? So in order to become a professional rugby player, I'm going to have to train and behave like a professional rugby player, but while being an amateur. So I would wake up in the morning, go to gym at 5 o'clock, come back, get my nutrition in, and then go to work from 8 to 5, come back, and then go to training, rugby training, and then come back. So in that space of time, besides what I learned at university about attaining a honours degree and still playing varsity cup, and that time, I think that's that year in Johannesburg where I basically had to live like a professional, but I wasn't. And I think that taught me a lot about I think how I wanted to conduct myself as a professional, as a rugby player, and also what I thought was going to bring the best out of me.
Okay. Yeah. That's for me. That's just like, because I'm even doing this now, and with uni and everything, I'm struggling to manage my time. I was actually speaking to my mom the other day. I was chatting about the podcast with you, and then I was just like, I don't know, like, how did he manage the time so well? And like, I'm doing a podcast once a week, and then like,
I mean, you must just extend yourself. I think the more you take on, the more you'll get done. You might not, you might not succeed in all of them, but I genuinely feel the more you take on, the more you'll get done. So if you want something done, give it to a busy person, and maybe make some. It's always just easy to make some small adjustments, like waking up a little bit earlier or cutting out certain things to giving yourself more time.
I think less YouTube before bed. Go to bed earlier.
Screen time, down the screen time.
No, my screen time's been bad, Chris. Like, bad. Almost double in lockdown. I saw it the other day. I was like, no.
No, you don't want to see that. But this is the thing about lockdown. I think it's played so nicely into these social media companies, because people are just on their phone so much more. And, it's extravagant.
It's crazy. And then, so how do you manage to balance your time? So you run your Walworth consulting, professional rugby player, and then still have a social life. So especially for guys like me, guys and girls like me at uni, doing university work, other stuff, and then having a social life. How do you manage to have all that?
So look, from the, let's do the Walworth side and the rugby side. As a rugby player, you do get a fair amount of time to recover. You're always having a weekly off day. Your days aren't always that long. And the reality is, with technology these days, I'm at most 90 minutes away from my device, which is my cell phone. And with that, I can check in the office, check my emails, check my Teams. So I know what's going on. So that's obviously a massive help. You can be in two places at one time. So that's obviously a major thing. And then the social aspect, I mean, I don't have an extravagant social life. I do enjoy myself, but I think if I can apply myself to university, and maybe for that you steered it in that direction, is that I was always up for a good time, but I always had set goals that I wanted to achieve, whether that was to pass the year or obtain a degree. And if that meant I had to sacrifice a number of social events along the way, and say no to a Delapa night on 2 nights before a test night, which Oaks used to do, then that's what it was. And I always used to think it was a small sacrifice, even though it felt so big at that time. It would be a small sacrifice for a great result.
For a greater cause.
So guys, unfortunately that's a wrap for episode 4. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the Q&A midweek and episode 5 next. Any honest feedback would be greatly appreciated, but it's ciao for now. Stay safe and keep learning.